Philadelphia, welcome to the Eagles home opener. But home field advantage has a very different meaning this season. The best fans in the league won't be in the stadium, but will the team still hear the fans in the distance? Well, knowing Philly, the players have said the Eagles fans are going to find a way to make their presence known. The LA Rams are in town for a 1 p.m. kickoff. Look at that beautiful, starting to feel like football weather, 60 degrees and sunny. Thanks for that weather update from our friends at NBC 10. Oh man, I wish I was out there today with that gorgeous sun shining, that cool, crisp air. It just feels so exciting to be at this point. And we are so excited to have you with us here on the Kickoff Show, presented by Axalta. I am Amy Campbell. From my living room, joined by Fran Duffy holding it down at the NovaCare Complex. Fran, the Rams are coming to town. The Eagles looking to bounce back from a tough loss against the Washington football team last weekend. Who better to do it against than a Rams team that beat the Eagles' rival, the Cowboys, just last week?
Yeah, it was obviously a huge win for the Rams, a huge win for the Eagles in the division to give Dallas a loss. But look, the Eagles have got to get into the win column this week because you don't want to start the season 0-2. It is so important to try and stack as many wins early in the season as possible. That's important every year, but I feel like this year with all of the uncertainty and the unique offseason, you want to try and stack as many wins as possible. No matter what those wins look like, try and fill them up as much as possible until you get to October, November, and December, Amy. This week is a big one for the Eagles.
Well, this is a Rams team that went to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, had a bit of a down year last year. Now they're back. They have a new defensive coordinator. And, of course, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz will be tied together forever with the number 1 and number 2 picks, respectively, in that draft class when both of them came into the league. So, Fran, let's just talk about what we're getting from the Rams real quick. On offense, there's a lot of motion, a lot of creativity from Sean McVay, very balanced. And Jared Goff, a quarterback who is easy to mess with but can be very consistent when the pocket is clean.
Yeah, Sean McVay's offense is all about run game first, all the play action and all the different backfield things that they're going to be able to do. It's going to be a big discipline game for the Eagles defensive back 7. We talked about that this week on Eagles Game Plan. It's going to be a really big week for those guys at the linebacker and secondary level. And then on the other side of the football, you mentioned it's going to all be about trying to stop Aaron Donald, but also Jalen Ramsey, another blue chip player on that Rams defense. So two guys you got to really, really worry about on that side of the ball, not just Aaron Donald, but Jalen Ramsey as well.
Well, and Aaron Donald, we can talk about that guy for a few minutes. What we saw him do last week against Dallas, I mean, just throwing giant people around like they weighed nothing. Throwing Ezekiel Elliott. He made Ezekiel Elliott look tiny, look weightless out there. So this is an absolute monster, to use the words of Carson Wentz. He's a monster. Everybody knows it. So we'll continue to break his game down. But let's head out to Lincoln Financial Field as we watch these Eagles players warm up. And, of course, the big news, Lane Johnson is going to be active. He has practiced this week. Some much excited, much anticipated help to this offensive line, friend, that has to stop Aaron Donald today.
Yeah, you get Lane Johnson back into the lineup, and that is huge for your offense. You know, he is one of the best tackles in football, no matter what you call it, left tackle, right tackle, it does not matter. Lane Johnson in the lineup, huge news for the Eagles going into this matchup.
When we're looking at Jalen Hurts now, he is active today as the backup quarterback. That's the first time in his NFL career here in Game 2. Let's just talk about his game for a little bit. There's so many possibilities of how he could potentially be used, and the coaching staff, of course, always keeps very tight-lipped. But if they wanted to, they could get creative with him.
They could, and we'll see. I mean, we saw lots of empty looks from the Eagles last week against Washington with Carson Wentz back there by himself. Could they try and utilize Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, as another offensive weapon on the field with Wentz? Yeah, that's been talked about ever since draft night. You know, we talked about it on Eagles Draft Central back in late April. We'll see. This is the first time he's active, but it's great to see this guy active as well, number 26, Miles Sanders.
Yeah, there's another guy Eagles fans are very excited is healthy and ready to go this week. Miles Sanders making his season debut in his second season. And man, what a contributor he was for the Eagles last season. Accounted for over 1,600 all-purpose yards, over 1,300 yards from scrimmage in his rookie season. That was the most among NFL first-year players and an Eagles franchise rookie record. He should make a big impact in this offense today, Fran.
Yeah, the run game could just not get going last week against Washington. And obviously you have a lot more faith with Miles Sanders, his ability to bang it between the tackles. Obviously, also as a pass catcher as well, can do so many different things. So having Miles Sanders back along with Lane Johnson, the Eagles getting some much-needed reinforcements on the offensive side of the football. Excited to see what this offense looks like against a Rams defense that is heavy zone coverage, more so than anybody in the league. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. But I think when you have those pieces coming back on offense, that means a lot for Carson Wentz and the coaching staff as well.
Well, of course, we talked a lot about Aaron Donald, and it seems like Aaron Donald has gotten so much attention this week, and that's because the film from last week from that Cowboys game was so jaw-dropping to see what he did. But he's not the only player on this Rams defense. You mentioned Jalen Ramsey in the secondary, one of the best corners in the entire NFL as well. What kind of challenge is he going to pose?
Yeah, the good thing about it is that in week one only, obviously we only have one game to go off of with Brandon Staley as the defensive coordinator. They kept him to one side of the field, to the boundary side. So if the ball is on the right hash, the right side of the field is going to be the short side. That's where Jalen Ramsey is going to line up more often than not. They moved him around a tiny bit, but more often than he was to one side. So if you're the Eagles, you could try and to have an idea of, hey, this is where Jalen Ramsey's going to be. Let's go over to the other side of the field and make sure we can get the ball, keep the ball away from number 20 as often as possible.
Yeah, not a bad plan there, Fran. All right, let's take a look at the offensive starters, and of course the exciting change from last week is that Lane Johnson healthy and ready to go today after dealing with ankle injury, and really amazing stat here of the Eagles' wins and losses with and without Lane. With Lane, they are 36-17. Without Lane, 6-12. So an absolute huge contributor there on this offensive line that has had, what can we say? The coaches have had to get creative with this offensive line due to the injuries over the last couple of months. How big is it to have this guy back today?
I mean, it's huge just because he's a blue chip player. And anytime you can get a blue chip player back in the lineup, it's big for your offense. I didn't think that Jack Driscoll, the rookie 4th-round pick, had a bad outing last week. He gave up the very first sack of the game, but outside of that, I thought he competed very, very well. He had a lot of one-on-one reps against Chase Young and Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat, and more than held his own. I thought he had a really nice outing, but anytime you can get a blue chip player like Lane Johnson back in the lineup, it's big for your team. So getting number 65 out there, as you can see him there on your screen, it's huge for the Eagles offense. There's no way around that.
Well, and Nate Herbig getting the nod again at right guard. What did you think of his performance last week?
He was another guy. I thought he competed well. There were certainly some times where he got pushed back. It was his first career start. He's a guy that's played both center and guard for this Eagles team over the course of practice. Not just this year, but last year. He was an undrafted free agent in 2019 out of Stanford. And, we know that's a pro-style run game. So he came into the league having a base of knowledge to be able to work this offense. His position versatility behind that guy, Jason Kelce, and then also the guard spot is going to be valuable for him moving forward. But he is a big, strong kid. I mean, you see him there, number 67. He is a very thickly built offensive lineman. So you're going to rely on his play strength at the point of attack to be able to create some movement. They saw a little bit of that last week. We'll see if they're able to break some more holes open now that Lane Johnson's back in the lineup, and also now that Miles Sanders is back there as well.
Well, and here we're looking at the defensive line, and Brandon Graham looking like he's having a good time out there warming up. We'll take a look at the defensive starters as we kind of discuss the other side of the ball here. And, of course, we are probably going to get our first look at Javon Hargrave at defensive tackle as he's active this week. And then Brandon Graham had been in the concussion protocol this week. He is cleared to play today. Unsure of how much we'll see these guys today, but certainly a boost to know that these guys are going to be able to, that they're cleared to play today, Fran.
And then Derek Barnett, number 96, will get the start today as well. But to your point, I think you're going to, you're going to see a little bit of a rotation with these guys. How often are we going to see Derek Barnett? He hasn't practiced really up until this week. Javon Hargrave did not practice up until this week. That guy, number 97, was absolutely dominant last week against Washington, built off that strong summer, that strong training camp. So when you've got Malik Jackson playing at such a high level, you've got Fletcher Cox, and we know the force that Fletcher Cox can be. Josh Sweat had a very good debut last week as the starter at the right side. So they're going to rotate all of these guys in, give them all quality snaps, but it's just great to get that depth back along the defensive line. You get a Javon Hargrave who, has the ability to be a blue chip player in this Eagles scheme with what he was asked to do. A little bit different than how he played in Pittsburgh, where he had to kind of defend the run first, then get after the quarterback. Here it's going to be quarterback, quarterback, and more quarterbacks. So getting Hargrave back, getting Josh Sweat in there as a backup alongside Derek Barnett, it's huge for this defensive line, trying to get after Jared Goff. He's not a guy that's going to run around and escape. You know where Jared Goff's going to be. Now it's about getting to him.
Well, and I know the secondary is very excited to know that the defensive line has reinforcements as well, because as one player once told me, a good defensive line is a defensive back's best friend. And so let's talk about one of those cornerbacks, Nickel Roby-Coleman, who played for LA. And so he's just a little bit extra excited to match up against these guys. It was cool hearing him in interviews this week talk about the matchups and how much he admires some of the receivers on the other side. What kind of challenge could Jared Goff's pass catchers provide for this Eagles defense today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a group of really precise route runners, and I got a chance to talk to Nickel Roby-Coleman for the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, and not only did he play on that Rams team last year, but when you talk about their star receiver, Robert Woods, one of the most underrated players in the game, Nickel Roby-Coleman played with him for the last 3 years in LA. He played with him for the first 3 years or 4 years of his career in Buffalo. And they were teammates. They came in the same recruiting class at USC. They were roommates their first day in college. So he knows Robert Woods as well as any corner in the NFL. Obviously, Robert Woods knows Nickel Roby-Coleman as well as any receiver in the NFL as well. It goes both ways. But that's a really fun matchup to watch in this game. The Rams are a heavy 3-receiver team, especially with some of the injuries they've got at tight end. Expect to see a lot of 3-receiver sets from this offense, which means you're going to see a lot of Roby-Coleman today. And he said, yeah, he was an open book for the Eagles secondary this week in terms of trying to prepare for this Rams offense.
Yeah, he really lit up when he was talking about this matchup. It was just really fun to hear him discuss that. And when we're looking at this Rams offense, last week they dominated in the time of possession, 35 minutes time of possession against the Dallas Cowboys. And they were very, very balanced in the run and the pass. So, Fran, it's going to be really important for this defense to get the ball back quickly and get it in the hands of Carson Wentz and the offense. I think that's going to be a key to watch in this one.
Disruption is key, because this offense, they want to operate with good timing, good execution. It's run, it's pass. Everything's off the play action fake and making sure that the defense is going one way and then the offense is going to hit you the other. So if you are able to disrupt them in both the run game and the passing game, and obviously disruption starts with the defensive line, then you can kind of throw them off kilter a little bit. Jared Goff doesn't always look as comfortable. Now everything else is kind of thrown off. If you stop the run, you make them one-dimensional. Those are important in every game and every matchup, Amy. But in this game, against this team, this offense, this coach, it's more important than ever.
Well, we mentioned it at the top of the show, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, their NFL careers will be forever tied together. Let's talk a little bit about Carson Wentz and this week, bouncing back from last week's performance where he owned that he needs to improve and he knows exactly what he wants to work on. And so definitely a lot of motivation for Carson Wentz coming into this one. And he's got some of his offensive guys back and healthy. So certainly the pieces are there for him to have a good bounce back day today.
Yeah, the two interceptions last week, certainly timing with his young receivers, with John Hightower, with Jalen Reagor. You'd like to see some of those come back. You'd like to see some of those deep balls that they tried to connect on. The timing just wasn't there for the entire game last week. And then with the sacks, a couple of them, you'd just like to see him just understand, hey, you know what? This play is dead. Let's play for the next play. Let me throw this ball away. Let's save a shot on my body, and let's play for the next down. Those are things that he did on the end of last year, and certainly looking back at the film for week 1, he'll be looking to improve on here for week 2.
Well, and of course, this is going to be the quote of the day is Aaron Donald is going to be looking to make Carson Wentz miserable today. Now, Aaron Donald has played the Eagles 3 times, has had 0 sacks so far, so of course the Eagles hoping to continue that. But the Rams have a new defensive scheme under Brandon Staley. So how is it different? We've only had one game to see how it's different without a preseason. What can coaches expect, or are they going to have to be very, very fluid with the adjustments?
In week 1 against Dallas, we saw him moved around the formation. And that's something we started to see from the Rams and Aaron Donald last year as well. They moved him around, so it wasn't that he was just matched up over the left guard, snap after snap after snap. You're going to see him lined up against the left tackle, the right guard, the center, the right tackle. So this is not going to be a one-on-one matchup. This is a 5-on-1 matchup. The Eagles' offensive line has to be able to handle Aaron Donald. Every snap, when they go up to the line of scrimmage, you have to figure out, where is Aaron Donald? How do we account for him in protection with the play that's called? So that's going to be on Jason Kelce and Carson Wentz. Every single snap, you have to understand how you are going to account for Aaron Donald, because with how they line him up, they're going to try and take advantage of some matchups. So the Eagles have to be able to account for that on every single snap.
All right, and with that, we are going to send it out to the brand new Fox Bet Lounge at Lincoln Financial Field. Dave Spadaro, Eagles Insider, standing by on the scene. Dave, there are no fans at Lincoln Financial Field today. How weird is it? What is it like over there right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's business as usual, Amy, other than the fact that there's no fans. And the walk from the NovaCare complex to here, where there are police presence, they want to make sure nobody's tailgating, the parking lots are empty, it's quiet, it's eerie, it's sad because we miss all the fans so much. But the show must go on here, and the field looks beautiful. It's just missing something crucially important. The bond, the importance of football and a community has never been illustrated more than the feeling I have today, because it's an empty feeling not having the fans here.
That is a great point, and it was really cool to see some of the pictures from the media of the cutouts, the cardboard cutouts of the fans that are there. So, of course, everybody doing their best to create that sense of community even without fans in the seats. Dave, a tough matchup for the Eagles today, but definitely a exciting one. A lot of interesting things here. What is your storyline for this one?
The storyline revolves around the offense, one that for three moments there, 3 possessions in the first 4 possessions, the Eagles put up 17 points against Washington, and then it went 180 degrees the other way. They just could not get the momentum back. So what does it mean to have Lane Johnson and Miles Sanders back? How does Carson Wentz react after a very difficult week in which he got a lot of criticism for turning the football over 3 times, for holding onto the football too long? 7 of the 8 sacks, according to NFL's next-gen stats. Carson held the football for 4 seconds or more. That cannot happen today. So I'm interested to see how the Eagles offense responds with a full slate of personnel and let's be honest here, their backs to the wall just a little bit.
Well, Dave, with those storylines in mind, interested to just kind of shift to this matchup and the keys to victory for the Eagles. What's your key to the game for the Eagles in a W here?
I mean, you've been talking about it all morning here, right? It's pretty obvious. Aaron Donald crushes offenses. But he hasn't done that against the Eagles. 3 games, 5 tackles, 4 solo tackles, 0 sacks. What have they done? Now, certainly Brandon Brooks played a big part in that, and we'll find out about Herbig today against Donald. But it's more than that. It's about, as you say, Fran, 5-on-1, being aware of where Aaron Donald is. The Eagles cannot allow the jailbreaks that they allowed last week and have this offense sustain anything. So looking for a quick start from the offense, looking for some way to neutralize Aaron Donald.
Well, Dave, it looks like a beautiful day for some football there, so enjoy the weather. We will catch up with you after the game. Thanks so much.
And this lounge, it's real and it's spectacular. When it opens, the fans are going to love it.
A lot to be excited about there. See, life is happening. Things are still happening. A lot to be excited about there. All right, so Fran, we got Dave's key to the game. What about yours?
Well, to me, it's all about trying to create some matchups in the middle of the field. The Eagles have to be able to protect Carson Wentz against Aaron Donald. If you protect him, I think there are matchups that the Eagles can win in the middle of the field. And how do you create those matchups? We know the Eagles love those 2 tight end sets. Well, against the Cowboys last week, I went back and watched all of the Rams snaps against those 2 tight end sets down in Dallas. Now, we're just a little bit look of a diagram here. This would be what a typical tight end set looks like, where you've got the 2 tight ends to the right of your screen to the boundary. This is not how the Eagles always line up, but in those instances, you might see Deshaun Jackson in the slot. Now, if that is the case, and you figure that the right side of the field in this little diagram here is the short side, the boundary side, and I mentioned earlier, that's where they typically line up Jalen Ramsey, the star corner for the LA Rams. He's typically the short side of the field. You would think that they're going to slide Jalen Ramsey over Deshaun Jackson, but in these looks last week against Dallas, they actually kept Jalen Ramsey over on that side of the field. What that does is it means that you might have a linebacker walk out over Deshaun Jackson. That could be the young guy, Micah Kiser. I'm taking that matchup every day of the week, especially twice on Sunday. Maybe they roll down the safety, the rookie 6th-round pick, Jordan Fuller from Ohio State. Maybe he rolls down and plays over Deshaun Jackson. You love that matchup. If they're in nickel, you're going to get Troy Hill, who starts on the outside in base and slides inside. You still like that matchup as well. My point is, Amy, no matter who lines up over Deshaun Jackson in that look, if it's not Jalen Ramsey, hey, it might be Jalen Reagor in the slot. Either way, you're taking Reagor against a linebacker, against a safety. The Eagles have to try and dictate to the Rams defense, this is how you are going to line up to this look. Now let's try and see if we can take advantage of those matchups.
I love to see a Fran Duffy film breakdown back in the Kickoff Show. That just feels so right. All right, my key to the game for this one for the Eagles is that the young players need to be contributors, and young players have plenty of opportunity, especially on offense. Miles Sanders is going to be back in the backfield today with the receiving core. Jalen Reagor, John Hightower, Greg Ward, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. These are all young players who have the opportunity to contribute. They will need to contribute. And when you look at the offensive line, Nate Herbig at the right guard spot. He's going to have another tough test today. This is time for these guys to really start making an impact. On the defensive side of the ball, plenty of young talent everywhere as well, especially when you're looking at that linebacking core. So this is an opportunity for some young guys to really be contributors, make their presence felt, and I think this is what the Eagles need if they're going to get a win today, is these young guys are going to have to be stepping up. So I hope that's what we're going to be talking about in the post-game show as well. All right, these are some players that I have my eye on today, but let's head over to Lincoln Financial and check in with Mike Quick and Merrill Reese to hear the players they're going to be watching in this matchup.
It's a beautiful day here at Lincoln Financial Field as the Eagles get set to open their home schedule. Mike, who is your Eagle to watch?
Well, with all this talk about Aaron Donald, my player to watch is Fletcher Cox, because I think when a guy like that comes into your stadium, you're on the other side, you want to make sure that that guy doesn't outdo you. I'm going to pay special attention to Fletcher Cox today. I think he'll have a big game.
I'm going to pay special attention to number 26, the second-year man out of Penn State, Miles Sanders, who has been on the shelf most of the summer, but he is ripped and ready to go. And I think he will make a big difference. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, guys. And a quick little fun quote here from Miles Sanders about Aaron Donald, because the two of them sometimes work out in the offseason. Miles says, he moves just like me. It is so very frustrating. I feel like that's very well said there for Miles. All right, another guy who is going to be making his presence felt, who's solidifying himself in this defensive backfield for the Eagles, is Avante Maddox in his third year. He is the star of today's one-on-one interview with Mike Quick, presented by Pondla Hockey. Take a look.
Hey, Avante, first of all, thanks for joining us. You took one on the chin last week. Tell me a little bit about what happened.
We just got to finish, we got to execute and we got to finish. That's the main thing. I feel like we came out strong, and it doesn't matter if you don't finish the game. So going into this week, we got to start strong and finish strong. That's our plan.
I got you. So you personally, how'd you grade out in that game? Do you still do such thing as grade?
Yeah, I definitely evaluate myself, and I think I played pretty well. I definitely should have came down with that interception, but he kind of hit it out, but that's not an excuse. I got things I can still work on, definitely with technique and, recognizing formations and doing things like that. It's a little bit different out there, but definitely feel like I played pretty good.
You talked about the possible interception. Take us through that play. I know you had the tight end, and he was in a tight split. You carried him across the field, and I saw how you tried to undercut that. Take us through that play and tell us what happened. Yeah,
definitely. The tight end was in a cut split, and, I kind of figured he was going to go over, but he took a step up forward first, and so that kind of paused me a little bit. Then he started taking off underneath, and, he was in man, so I was trailing him behind, and I know I got to get, right behind him. I don't want to get picked. So as soon as that happened and I cleared and it got a little bit clearer, I tried to go underneath, and I looked back, and I seen him launch up to throw it, and as soon as he threw it, it hit my hands. He threw it hard, and it was, stuck to my hands almost until the tight end had came and, hit my arm. And, it's my right arm, the one that grips it from the bottom. So it just fell out after that, and I was like, no. I needed that one.
You're known for having good hands. I expected that one from you. I expected you to take that one away.
I know. I feel I'm so disappointed in myself, but you know, I hit the jugs all week this week, so I'm looking forward to Sunday.
So you mentioned playing outside. You showed your versatility last year. You played outside, you played slot, you played safety. What does it feel like now that you're going to be a full-time corner on the outside? I
feel like college again. You know, in college I was a full-time corner there for 4 years, and you know, just getting back into the groove of it, you know, what guys run out there. It's definitely a good feeling, you know, being able to be at one position, but wherever they need me, I'm willing to go, no matter what. If it's safety, if it's nickel, wherever they need me to be, I'm doing it.
So you've got a guy opposite you now, Darius Slay, big play Slay. How is it different for you now having a guy of that caliber on the other side of the field from you?
It's good. You know, like soon I've been watching Slay for a while because he was playing in Detroit, and you know I'm from Detroit. So just being on the side, one of the best cornerbacks in the league is definitely a teaching moment, because when he's out there, he's always teaching me a lot of things about the game and what he sees and how he plays it. And so far, you know, like everything he has said has been on cue. And I think of it as a competition. I just know when they throwing the ball at him, he's not letting them guys catch the ball. So, you know, if they coming to me, I'm like, okay, I can't let them catch it. I got to outdo Slay. So him on that side is making me play as a better player.
So you know that most teams are going to want to go away from that side and throw to your side. Are you prepared for that?
Oh, I'm more prepared. I'm more prepared than anything.
Now you come to Philadelphia, your home opener. It's going to be a little bit different. How do you now prepare for that, coming to the link without fans and without that boost that you normally get from the fans in the stands?
Like I said, it'd definitely be different, but us as a team, we just have to come in and bring our own energy. But I know them guys, you probably can hear our fans at home, and I know how loud they be. You know, just creating our own energy, like I said, going out there and, you know, playing hard, you know, focusing, paying attention to the details, and, you know, getting the job done. That's what we need to do and finish.
I love hearing what he said there about working with Darius Slay and how it's like a competition. You know, he doesn't, the two of them can go back and forth, and Slay forces Maddox to be a better competitor. And Fran, let's talk about Maddox and his development now heading into his third year. How have you seen him evolve with this team?
Well, we saw that evolution of what he could be back in year one, right? I mean, he was an outside corner, a slot corner, a free safety, did everything that this defensive staff asked from him. And I think when you look at Avante Maddox, he has got the skill set to be able to play on the outside for Jim Schwartz. We have seen corners with his build, with his temperament, play at a high level for Jim Schwartz in the past, both in Tennessee and then out in Detroit, out in Buffalo. We've seen guys with that build have that success. You know, he talked about that interception he nearly had last week against Washington. I thought he had a good week on film. I'm excited to see him here in week 2 against the Rams defense or Rams offense that I remember back in 2017, that rookie season, he had an outstanding year against Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and that group back actually 2018 as a rookie. Excited to see him here in another game of action against that group.
Yeah, and such a competitor, a guy that you want to have in your locker room, and especially hearing about him talk about how upset he was that he dropped that would-be interception and how he prides himself on having good hands. It's just really cool to listen to him and get to know him a little bit better. Of course, a great addition to this team and a guy that Eagles fans can be excited about for the foreseeable future, for a long time to come. All right, we are going to take a quick little 30-second break as we count down towards kickoff. Stay with us. The Philadelphia Eagles and Axalta Coating Systems are building a roster of all-pro teachers. Go to philadelphiaeagles.com/Axalta all-pro teachers to learn more. And as we get closer and closer to kickoff, the players are excited for this game. It is the home opener, and there's Carson Wentz. really excited to lead this offense to a win against the LA Rams. And this guy, Miles Sanders, making his season debut after missing the season opener on the road with that injury. He is so excited to be back on the field, feeling good, ready to get this win today. And Fran, with that, how are you feeling? Any final thoughts for the people?
Well, obviously, look, the Eagles are going to spend the next 15 minutes before kick, final prep to try and get that W. But while they're doing that, you could spend the next 15 minutes trying to save 15% or more on your car insurance by switching to Geico.
Oh, yes. And of course, I'm glad you got the let's get that W in there, because that's what I was alluding to. So, of course, that is our part of our tradition. And we're building new traditions here on the Kickoff Show, because our tradition is to get that W. And now you have 15 minutes to call Geico before this kickoff. And I don't know about you, but like, what are we even doing for the next 15 minutes? So it's the perfect time to do that. All right. And of course, we will be right back here as soon as the game is over to discuss it all on the post-game show presented by Rico. Ike Reese, of course, will be joining Fran and I as well. All right, so 1 p.m. kickoff, Eagles welcoming the Rams at home at Lincoln Financial Field. A field without fans today, but we are feeling the energy, feeling the love of the Eagles fans wherever you are, and we will see you on the other side of this game.